Whoa. Yo, is it working? I cannot hear it though. I cannot. I don't hear it through the speaker. I don't hear it through the
It's
speaker. Do you hear me through the speaker? Okay. Yo. Hi everyone. We kind of have some fancy stuff right now going on. We're getting way too professional for a community-driven thing. But yeah, really nice that you all made it. I don't know if you had to travel for long, but at least it was sunny. And it was really nice to enjoy a bit of sun on the roof with you guys. Did you guys everyone got each other's LinkedIn already that you met on the roof? Yeah? Okay, maybe give a hand very quickly to the person next to you and or someone in front of you. And then tell them that you will speak to them later and get their LinkedIn. You guys want to do it now for 1 second? Okay, at least you have these people, okay, next to you, okay? Nice. No, but who here is building an AI app? Okay, a lot of people. Okay, who's dreaming of building one? Okay, that's a lot of people as well. Nice. Even more people. And you guys? You already made it into YC, or where do you want to go? Almost, okay. Nice. Yeah, so today we're going to have 3 demos, very short, and we're going to have more time maybe to go back on the roof as well after everything. Sounds good? Nice. Yeah. The first speaker. Oh no, first I want to thank Chris for doing crazy stuff with this whole setup and that we can actually record it. So big hand to Chris. Okay. There we have Rex sitting in his chair, super chilled out. He's actually the guy that got ice all the way from the supermarket because it was sold out here below. Okay, so respect. And then we have Dima over there. He came here by wheelie with his motorbike, yeah, thanks for welcoming. And you have Karen, who also helped welcoming you, and Mancha there in the back. Martijn, who just went home, and there we have Daniel. Woo! Okay. Nice. Yeah, we really try to make this like a community-driven thing, and yeah, take cool selfies together on the rooftop. Why not, you know? Oh yeah, and this thing I shared last time, so I'll just be very brief. But this is me vibe coding on my phone because I have cursor and like TeamViewer on, and yeah, it was pretty cool. This is my console logs. But yeah, very quickly about why AI builders. AI is going to make us all more powerful, and yeah, some of you guys work at already very powerful big companies. Some of you are on your way to start your own big company, and yeah, we can all use each other's contacts, each other's knowledge, and explore this new field, but and kind of stay ahead. That thing, that FOMO that we're always afraid of, you know, because you know YouTube thumbnails are getting crazier and crazier, and clickbait is mad. But I think most of us have gotten used to this already now. But yeah, we are really AI pioneers, guys. Like we're really building the new AI apps that a lot of people can potentially use, and exploring this really cool new technologies. And yeah, great job already for being humble enough to say, hey, I'm gonna switch full on to fucking AI stuff, you know? And that takes some courage too. So yeah, we're all here to realize our ideas and maybe our wildest dreams and desires, like sitting down in a tree while there are hunter-gatherer robots helping you to bring your fresh fruit from the fruit forest because we've regenerated the whole earth, you know. maybe some parts, right? Some people love cities, me too. But yeah, the big question is how will all this AI power be distributed? We're gonna get more powerful. Okay, great. We're here. We're on this wave, right, guys? We're on track. But yeah, there's still some guys that were on this track before us, like Jason Juan. What was his name again? I don't have. Yeah, thank you. This guy, yeah, did really good. We all know that. But also AI has the power to level the playing field. Like, who of you guys is vibe coding? Yeah? Who of the people that are vibe coding actually were not a programmer before? Anyone in the room? Okay, that's quite some hands too. That's pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, AI is helping us liberate our capacity even more, our creative capacity. And if you know how to prompt, like this girl, I don't know if you saw this video, it's really fun. Yeah. And also, open source models are sometimes also catching up a bit, so it's really interesting. But yeah, I'm just going to skip through this. With AI builders, we want to do an experiment with co-ownership and democratic community stuff as well. And like to really keep it like a hobby club, basically. Keep it like a fun association where people are volunteering, but also getting some compensation for it, or some gift card, or like gadgets or merchandise, you know, and like really have it in many cities and have little hack days and little hackathons and rooftop chill outs. So yeah, and for that we think co-ownership is really good, and we think it really makes sense. So we're making like a WhatsApp like kind of AI that we can all speak with, and that's like potentially you can send feedback, right? Like, oh, live feedback, like, well, this dude doesn't have this presentation on track. He's skipping so many slides. He didn't prepare it, and I'm like, oh shit, you got it. But then you can send it to that WhatsApp bot, and the WhatsApp bot will just send me very constructive feedback instead of your harsh feedback, because you don't know how to communicate, because our grandparents, whatever, no, just kidding. So tell me what you want. Oh, yeah, so this AI will be like, yeah, just share me your AI ambitions, and we're gonna connect you with other people in the community and stuff like that, like AI networking. Yeah, so that's what we're building, and we need some people, and we don't need developers anymore, guys, because we switched to N8N. Anyone familiar with Zapier or N8N? Yeah, okay, so these are super easy low-code tools, and we're making all these automations on WhatsApp. So if you get a WhatsApp that looks really weird, it might have been no, just kidding. I'm not automating my own one yet, but it sounds tempting. It sounds tempting. Who's automating their own WhatsApp? Anyone? Something in WhatsApp? Nobody. Okay. Good people. You're still human. Okay, nice. So this is don't send your bots to this thing. This is already really spammy. We don't need your bots, but please come and hang out and share the latest AI news and things like that. But be advised, it is a bit annoying, and for some reason archiving the group still makes it pop up after a notification or whatever. It's Mark Zuckerberg needs my GitHub issue, but does he even have GitHub? I don't know. But anyway, first speaker, Robert from Ask News, giving a big hand. He also sponsored a bit of the drinks, so please go out and have more drinks. Feel free to also there in the fridge and stuff. And yes, Robert, you have a very nice app, because it's an app we could all potentially use, right?
I hope so.
Yeah. You need a microphone? Does he need a microphone? He got one?
Yes.
And he got a slides. Nice. Okay.
Thumbs up.
And I need to be turned off. How do I do this?
Check, check. Thanks. All right, thanks for having me. Let me see if I can toss this into...
Slideshow.
Let's see what this guy... Okay, there we go. All right, so let's see. 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 Yep, Robert, I'm here, and my colleague Ellen is also here, so you might have seen her around. We are building a company called Emergent Methods, which is focused on structuring knowledge with all of the latest technologies. We started about 3 years ago, and we just kind of dove into vector databases and structuring with LLMs and structuring with small LLMs and wondering where these tools could go. And news turned out to be one of the primary structuring sources that was really interesting. And we just continued down the path of how much further do these tools go. Originally, it was just little experiments saying, I don't think this is going to work, but let's test it. And then it worked, and then it worked. And so now we're at this point where this deep research paradigm has come out, and we can bring all of this news structuring knowledge and infuse a deep reasoning tool. And so I'm here to kind of express the latest feature with you and kind of how we're floating on top of all of this open source work. You probably are all familiar with what deep research is. It's really not too sophisticated. It's just a while loop back there. Search, read, reason, boom, do it again, do it again. What did I read? Reason on what I read, do a new search that dives the tentacles deeper into what I found. And this is nice because if I'm trying to do context discovery around real-time information, this allows me to really dive into new topics that weren't present in the training data, but are absolutely present in real-time information. Research planning, document enrichment, search refinement, metadata tagging, this is in the while loop. This becomes a really powerful while loop on top of thinking tokens, which I think we're all familiar with. I'll point them out in a second. But I would really call this iterative RAG. I'm not sure this is truly deep research. It's just iterative RAG. And we call it context engineering. There's a lot of them out there. You probably ran into Perplexity. You probably ran into OpenAI. And you've probably played with DeepSeek. You've probably given all your secrets to the Chinese government, I hope. But there's deep news, and so that's us. We're here, and we're bringing the news component. We're saying, okay, what if we do deep research, but what if we take the news component seriously? What if we don't just scrape a bunch of random HTMLs and hope for the best? Instead, we structure. We do bias mitigation. We structure with true metadata. What does that mean? Quality in, quality out. We've been in machine learning for a decade now. Quality in, quality out hasn't changed. So with deep research, all the problems are finally solved. And I was like, well, let me just get an image. And apparently on this day, OpenAI couldn't generate a full photo. So this is kind of what it feels like with the deep research. When I'm using these tools, it's like, yes, oh, wait, now I have 35 pages that I need to figure out if it's just a hallucination or if it's true. And it looks something like this. And I'm just like, oh my God, there's got to be a better way around this. How do I trust this sort of thing? It's like I sent an intern out, and I said, hey, go do research on the latest tariff flip-flop and get me that full list of information, assign the vulnerabilities. But do you trust that intern if it's just like blindly scraping Google and it doesn't know the publication dates of the sources and the intern doesn't care that much about the quality? Probably not. So what if you build a strong foundation first and then paint the house last? And that's kind of the premise of Ask News in our Deep News feature. So what's the goal? How do you actually start from a foundation? Let's do the non-sexy part first, okay? Well, with news, this has been around since 350 AD, okay? So this is not new. This is just the basic how, what, why, where, when of news. If you can understand these components, you are defining the context that your ultra-smart LLM needs in order to actually make a forecast or do a fact check. When did a piece of information come to light? That's the when. Where did this take place? That's the where. So persons, organizations, events, statements. This is context engineering. This is not present when you do a random web scrape, to be completely frank. And that's a little bit scary to see this happening. Now, I hope OpenAI is doing something to treat this stuff, but you hit some of our competitors, Tavily and Exa, And you're not really getting this kind of metadata, and so it's really hard for Claude 3.7 to reason on top of not knowing anything. And then on top of it all, you know, unlicensed data. This is an entirely other problem to solve. But what if you actually had it all every single time, right? That's kind of what we're presenting here. What if the quality in was there instead of just garbage in? Well, that's context engineering. But what if we took it a step further? Okay, connections, first, second, third order links between entities. That sounds like pretty good information to feed to a really intelligent tool that can reason. Source origin, what about geocoordinates? None of this is present when you randomly scrape HTML. And then obviously we want to empower publishers. How do we make a sustainable model here that we can continue delivering you real-time information without running these publishers completely out of business because OpenAI is just scraping them blindly in perplexity? Don't take my word for it. Take the external validation. We are scientists. Our company is a lab. And so we look to external validation to validate the idea and the premise and the data. Metaculus is a forecasting tournament where people are building bots to do real-time forecasts on politics. Who's going to win the next election? You know, finance. Is Tesla going to overtake market share of Apple? You name it, all sorts of forecasts on real-time events. This is a prediction market. You need news in order to actually make predictions. So it turns out that our competitors are much worse than us, which is a good sign for us. So how do we actually get to that objective accuracy in order to improve the probability of the next token? That's all we're doing. Literally, quality in, quality out is, let me get a better probability for that next token that's closer to what I actually need. You just need better in, more objective reality of what's going in. This is context engineering. This is the who, what, where, when, why, but this is the data science behind it. We extract entities. We run sentiment analysis. We determine reporting voice. Is this a sensational piece of crap? Should we trust a sensational piece of crap? Is it objectively written from a trusted, credible source? That is context that we should probably hand to an LLM if we're going to do something like this, like a forecast on an event. So these are kind of just puzzle pieces. You know, I'm happy to share the slides. Classification of the topics, sentiment analysis with time. How is the sentiment changing with time? That's a really important component if I'm going to be doing a forecast. You know, entity extraction. We have a model that we've trained. It's open source for entity extraction. And the idea behind it, I believe, well, it's called this, Curating Grounded Synthetic Data with Global Perspectives by our friend Ellen in the audience. We're really proud of that one, by the way. And the idea behind it, let me just get to it, is that we've diversified the data set underneath to extract data in a meaningful way where bias is mitigated. If you can reduce bias, you're improving the objective reality of what you're trying to put into the model. I want to point out we're building this into a knowledge graph under the hood. So something like this, if you expand it, it looks like this. These connections come in handy. So the final goal, I want to find the needle in the haystack with high throughput at low cost in production. So this becomes an actual challenge that is not just science, this is actually engineering. The retrieval, this is key. The role of retrieval is deep research. If you can retrieve, you can do deep research. If you can do retrieval well, you can do better deep research. And so, yes, I'm going to shill Quadrant here in front of you. I am not associated directly with them, but I think that database is very impressive. It's open source and free. We run everything on top of it. Accuracy is really important, especially in addition to basic constraints. The flexibility and scalability is really, really important. Cheaper storage is smaller servers. I'm a tiny startup. I can't afford huge servers. So quantization of vectors is really, really important when you're at this stage of a startup. So that's it. I'm going to pull it together. I want to do a quick, like 20 or two-minute demo where we toss a query into the actual system. I don't know, do we have a couple minutes? 2 minutes? Okay. Let me see if I can hop in there. Okay, let's see if this wants to work. It's okay. Okay, this is, let me see if I can, maybe I can, it's good, it should be good. Okay, so this is the GUI to the API, but all of this is accessible to developers as an API, and that's our goal, is we want to be a source so that when you need real-time information that's objectively accurate, you can just ping us with a single line of code. So this this query we're going to throw in should look kind of like a deep research that you've seen before, but it's going to interact with the Ask News knowledge graph under the hood. So I don't know, does anyone have like a pressing query that they would love to throw in, or should I go with one of the suggested ones here? I'm happy to take an audience suggestion. We can do something about tariffs. We could do something about something.
Donald Trump calls World War III.
All right, let's see what it does. Do you guys want to run DeepSeek or Claude to see what DeepSeek it is? Okay. Okay, let's see how she does. The live demos are always the funnest. So of course, this is a standard thinking that you may have been familiar with when you watch OpenAI and Perplexity. Thinking tokens are self-prompting. That's all it is. It's just self-deciding how to make the next token. It's very intensive. So the first thinking step it did was it basically planned it out. How am I going to actually solve this problem, right? Okay, yeah, I'm going to start with an Ask News search for Trump's recent activities. So we get an Ask News knowledge graph search. It retrieves the response, and then it thinks about what it received. And then from there, it will dig deeper into specific flashpoints. So it's doing a context discovery and then diving its tentacles deeper in. Currently, it's thinking on top of the second search from Ask News. We'll see where it's at here. These little favicons are the sources that it found the information from. So it's tossing out the top 3 reasons. Ukraine crisis spillover into NATO, it sounds about right. Middle East instability. Let's see what the conclusion is. It says it's unlikely. So I think we're safe for now. One aspect here we're really proud of is just the transparency for the analyst that sits in front of it. If I want to actually look into the sources behind it, what does that look like? That's a really important aspect. It looks like this was a Turkish article originally, so I'm an English analyst. How do I consume 50 languages all at the same time rapidly and draw conclusions? You hear this original one was in Chinese. This was from Taiwan. So this to us is the correct way to do a news deep research. Now, I would say that we are not focused on code, so I wouldn't ask this thing to do coding, but I would say it's very good at doing news. We can toss another one out, or we can wrap it there.
Yeah. Where's
Good?
Q&A now?
Yeah, let's talk. Any questions? I'm always happy to hear like suggestions or questions or comments, criticisms. I want to hear those.
How is that index provocative?
Good question. He asked, how do we determine the level of provocativeness of the article? That is with an LLM as well. So an LLM is it's also determining the reporting voice, and it's also determining the sentiment. Now, when you do something like that, you still prompt with the definitions of what would you consider provocative. So we have determined a set of definitions that we decide are and are not provocative based on an editor in-house. So this may not actually align with what you think. But generally for us, provocative is something that provokes emotion when you're reading it. So it's something about something pretty, it doesn't necessarily need to be bad provocative, it's just something that will provoke emotion. That's what we determined.
So is it happening on article level, or does it have some kind of knowledge of sources being reliable or not? Because I'm Russian, Rambler News is garbage, and it makes perfect sense that it was tagged as provocative. But I'm curious,
good point.
Does it have internal understanding of which resources are by default more provocative or not?
Okay, I love this question. So this is kind of like source credibility is what you're asking about. And you can control it, and we didn't dive deep into there, but if you don't trust a source, we let you decide. So we have filters that you could remove Rambler from your search entirely, and it would never show up. But we're not in the business of deciding what should and shouldn't come out, because actually some analysts are focused on what Rambler is saying and what RT is saying, because that's actually what their analysis needs to understand. Maybe it's like a French analyst trying to determine how Russia's thinking based on these like puppet outlets. So in this particular one, we didn't limit. Now, the other thing I would just say is we found through a lot of our research, when you introduce a variety of perspectives, you know, a French perspective, a Swedish perspective, a or a Brazilian perspective, Canadian, and a Russian, you can identify key alignments and key and contradictions. And maybe we have, if I jump over to actually read some of them, I can show you. But if we're all talking about one event and 6 languages in 6 countries have said one thing, but one country and language says another, you'll find a contradiction. And these LLMs are very good at identifying the alignments on the right here and the contradictions. And you can see RT is in contradiction here. And so just letting the LLM know what is a contradiction and what is an alignment is already getting you a step further than before. So that would be my response.
To what extent do you have things like press releases?
Sorry.
Statements, stuff like that?
Press releases, we have a lot of them. They're very good open web data. So a lot.
Okay. So you could kind of, for public companies, you could use it as a company kind of type database as well?
A lot of our clients monitor companies and technologies and developments and investments through press releases. Yeah, that's one of our primary. And those are great because they're open web. Yeah.
I'm curious, what kind of customers do you have?
We have a variety. The majority of our clients are in the prediction market world. And so this would be like people building things for Polymarket, or people trying to predict an event. We just got a new client last week, which I really like, doing disaster simulation and preparation. And so their whole job is to just simulate a disaster for a C-suite so that they're prepared for when the disaster occurs. And they wanted to simulate using real-world data, so wildfires, electrical power outages, which would be topical, stuff like that.
We have time for like 3 more questions, and
Sure.
that's it. So there were people behind.
Sorry.
How are you guys into marketing? Like how do you reach the people who wants to use this?
LinkedIn and this. That's good. If you're a marketer, you should reach out to us because we're really crappy with marketing. We're trying our best. Yeah?
How are you using the knowledge graph?
Great question. And we actually have if you want to dive deep, I'll geek out with you any day. It's an on-the-fly knowledge graph, and it's actually ontology free. And so that scares a lot of knowledge graph people away, or knowledge graph people. But what we're doing is we're building this massive knowledge graph and then constructing it on the fly, only based on like the information that's required.
So you index it on the fly when you search it?
It's indexed in a more distributed way. We don't index all of the information in a graph database because it's too computationally intense. And so, because we're upserting about 1 million entities a day, or nodes. And so that becomes impossible. And so it's easier to index it in S3 and then build on the fly. So our index is a very custom index of how data is distributed, and then we'll try to build on the fly.
What kind of vector database?
Wait, sorry.
Sorry. Oh, we have one over here.
I had a very similar question to the previous one, actually. do you have any kind of statistical modeling that you do on like the branches knowledge graph so that you can combine like LLM outputs with statistical modeling, estimated correlation, things like that?
Good question. We do disambiguation, but no, it's not really a statistical model. It's more of a home-cooked disambiguation of what works for our clients. That's a difficult problem to solve, but no, we're not doing any of that. Typically, you'll create a big graph, and then you can do stats on that graph. There was one here. I kind of turned him down. Sorry. Did you have a question?
Yeah, but it was kind of
Got it. Sorry.
Okay, 2 more.
Thanks.
Go on.
Oh,
Answered
he
already?
was answered.
All right,
Yeah.
last question right here.
Yeah.
How much money do you spend per one request?
Good question. One request of deep news, I think it's somewhere around a half of a penny or something. So it's quite well processed, but we're doing a lot of pre-processing, so that doesn't take into account all of the pre-process. Thanks, I appreciate the attention, and let's geek out. Or pull Ellen aside, she's the true nerd, not me.
Okay, thanks a lot, Rob.
Thanks.
A round of applause. And thank you for sponsoring the drinks.
Guys, attention please. This is Sami, our second speaker, and he's going to talk about his project or company on how to draft contracts so they are drafted in a proper way and nobody's going to fuck you over. So thanks a lot. That's actually super useful. Give a round of applause to Sam. Sami.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much for inviting me. I like these meetings. It's a nice combination of techie people and people who've been ex-corporate and are trying something else. So thanks a lot for inviting me to speak. So I'm talking about Kunai, which is a pet project that I turned into a company. A bit about myself, I'm an AI engineer at a Dutch medtech company called Surgical Reality. We bring AI to the operating room, so the surgeon basically has a CT image, runs AI segmentation models on their laptop, brings their laptop into the operating room, and we just got certified for medical device regulation this week, so big yup. And on the side, I just try to work a little bit with LLMs to kind of like stay in touch with what people are doing. So I also love sailing, like some downtime as well. Like gaming, and when I'm not doing that, I build a company like Kunai. So what's Kunai? Basically, I try to go for the, does that work? Yeah, okay, sorry for the, so the use case basically is that if you are a homeowner or you're renting somewhere long term, you want to like fix some stuff around the house or you want to do some like improvements, and you call some companies, contractors come over. And when basically you get like some guys coming over, say like, oh yeah, no, sure, yeah, it probably takes like 2 or 3 days, and they send you a contract. You do that like 3 times, and all of a sudden you have to guess like, well, this guy's really cheap, but he might fuck me over. This guy's really good, but he's really overcharging on material. And I guess like the problem, the issue is that it's really hard to figure out who's a good professional. Word of mouth, Google reviews are not really that accurate. And actually the quality of the quotation says a lot, but it's tricky to know what to look out for. So I came up with this idea, like why don't we just build a website where you send up your quotation and the terms and condition, and it just kind of just checks all the things like, well, what's normal, what's not normal, what's unusual, so that you can negotiate with the contractor before signing. And this is Kunai. So I'll give you a demo. Basically, it's a very simple. It's a very simple website. You go to the front here, and basically you give a job description like repairing brickwork facade with cracks in the wall, which happened to be my house, by the way. So there, and then you upload the terms and condition. You sign a disclaimer because it's not actually proper legal advice, obviously. And then you press Analyze Contract. So while this is analyzing, I'll just like switch back to the PowerPoint slide. And I want to just give like a little bit of insight into like what it's going to do now. The architecture is quite simple. Basically, it's a front-end website. Because of like things like Tailwind CSS, it's really easy to optimize for a laptop or for a mobile device, and you don't need to maintain apps. In the backend, it runs a Python container running on Google or Google Run or whatever equivalent, and uses an SQL server to basically does user login, log the credits, and things like this. And it removes personal information, obviously really important because of privacy issues. And then it will generate a PDF from the output of the LLM and email it to your account. The LLM basically is any LLM that you use, but you just want to make sure that it has a LLM with a high context window because these documents can be quite large, and you just want it to perform well on about like 30 pages. Sometimes I've had like 50 pages. In terms of abstraction, I came up with this method. It's really quite simple. So basically, I have a class which is a prompter, and the prompter will have a quote, terms, and a model. A setup model method, and then a function that takes as an input a list of prompts. And that means that you can basically do zero shot, few shot, or much more sophisticated prompting in any way, as long as you just have an input is a list. That could be a list of string or a list of dictionaries, and the output is just structured responses. Then I have another function which I call prompts database, and prompt database basically takes any input and it just has to output a list of prompts. It's very simple, but it means that I can experiment very easily with new prompt techniques, new models on the fly, and I can version control all these two files, and it just works quite well for prototyping. And it means that when I do my analysis, it's nothing that you'll be surprised of. You just extract text, prompt list, and generate a report. I'll give you a bit of insight about what my prompts look like. So basically, I'm still working with like chain of thought methods, nothing too fancy. And the first thing I ask is say, okay, I've got this job. What can go wrong? It can be underestimated. You can have like poor materials. Things like this, and then it will already generate things like that I can hang on to. And in the second prompt, I'll do something like this, like, okay, here's the quotation, here are the terms. Please think about what you said before, and now see if that corresponds to what is now in these new documents. This is just like two small snippets of what I'm actually doing, but it can give you an idea of like how you can set it up such that it's just better than just throwing a PDF into ChatGPT. So this is the example that it's in Dutch, unfortunately, but basically it's repairing brickwork in a facade, and it will look for issues in cracks or like cleaning the brickwork. You don't have to be an expert in like brickworks to understand it, but generally just issues in the brickwork. And this is now done. I just press download analysis, and just want to show you an example of what it will look like. So basically, it will automatically recognize things like this. So it's got a vague quantification. I'll make it bigger, actually, it's probably better. It's saying, well, it's a bit vague on like checking and repairing grout loss. So that's something that could lead to higher costs. And it will just structure the output like it's a high risk, this is the issue, and this is what you want to make sure that you negotiate for. And it will just repeat that for different things. And the really nice thing about it, which is something that humans probably won't do, is that it will just take something which is in the quote, which you will probably read, but you probably won't read the terms and conditions, and it will just read, just because LLM is good at that. It will just say, like, just be aware that in the terms and conditions, if this goes wrong, you won't be able to negotiate something else. And it's just a very nice summarization, which I found like a really nice use case for this kind of stuff. And one of the things that I find most important is that this is something that comes up a lot, is that the quotation is sent based on the inspection on the day. So that means that if they actually show up on the day and say, well, this is a new crack, we didn't see it, they can just like increase the quote by like 50%, and that's all legal, and you have no back foot to stand on. So it has successfully picked that up in this analysis. So thank you very much for listening. It's just gone live last month. And this is also an initiative that came from personal experience. These guys came over to my house and just like doubled the price of a brickwork facade. And I thought, well, this is dumb. I'm going to do something about it. It cost me a lot of money and happiness, but hey. Anyway, if you're business-minded, I'm looking for someone to partner up with because I don't really like doing marketing and things like that and being business strategy-wise and stuff like that. But I like doing all the tech stuff. And there's a lot of like tech challenges that I'm looking forward to doing. Like, do I want to go for like a RAG-based approach in the future? How am I going to like migrate to new prompting techniques, new LLMs, and evaluate that my analysis is still performing well? And how to use these deep think models is also quite tricky compared to the chain of thought models. So happy to hear your thoughts about that as well. So thank you very much for listening. And yeah.
So we have time for 2 questions. One there and one here. Sorry. That's the time that we have.
That's fine.
Is it working?
Yes.
Thank you, mate. Fantastic presentation. I also work with legal tech, so that's a very relevant use case for me. I was curious in terms of the length of the document, how does the accuracy change? Because we know that within like 3-pager, it's easy to capture clause 1, clause 7, but within like a 100-pager, it gets more difficult. So what is your overall thought on how predictable it is in terms of accuracy? Yeah.
So I've never really tested it above like 50 pages. I think was the maximum I had. The thing is, I guess it's hard because I don't really have like a gold truth because I don't have a lawyer who did the analysis for me. But generally, the amount of tokens on a 50-page document will be in the 50, 60,000, while the LLM that I'm using has a context window of 1 million tokens. So, which is the Google ones. They were quite early with high context window models. And that basically, I haven't really seen an issue with that because of that. Yeah. Are you using Google as well? Because I can see like you two smiling.
Yeah, GPT also now 1 million context window, right?
Yeah.
And I looked it up, actually it's 1,000 PDF pages is the context window. So we have 1,000 pages room of normal PDF to fill the context window, so loads.
Yeah.
No problem.
Have you tried using like 50K pages and see if performance drops?
50K pages.
Like, because you said you said 100,000 pages,
no,
but
1,000 pages of PDFs.
Oh, 1,000.
GPT 4.1 that is context
Yeah.
window. It's 1,000 pages of contract you could throw into that and it'll be fine.
I mean, yeah.
We have one question here.
Thanks.
Hello. I had a question. I was wondering if you're looking to add this feature or already have this feature, if Kunai analyzes a contract and it then says, well, this looks a bit vague, what it says in the contract, like if that breaks, maybe the installer or is it, he's not gonna fix it for you. But I'd be curious to know what if, are you also thinking of adding something like, well, but in this sector, 90%, like it's normal for like 90% of the contracts. Like I can assume that some things are vague in general, maybe some specific sectors have those same do that always in the contract. So I think that's something I would be looking for if I would like to use your product, but then I would like to see, okay, is this like normal for the sector to see this in a contract?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I think knowing what is normal, at the moment I just rely on the ChatGPT or whatever to know it by itself. The first thing that comes into my mind is that I would use a database of, because there are generally there are standardized procedures and rights for building works, and you could build a database from those documents and use that as a reference. Yeah. I haven't thought about that, but I think that would be a nice feature to grow indeed. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. And give another round.
Thank you very much.
All right, everyone. Yeah, hello. Good afternoon. Last session of the day. After this, you're free to go. Please bear with me, 10 minutes, 5 minutes of questions, and then you're free to leave. I think we had a wonderful day outside. We can still enjoy it a bit more. Okay, thank you for the introduction and for giving me the opportunity to be here today and to talk a bit about my research. I'm going to be talking about automated negotiations, and my talk today is going to be technical. Normally, I talk high level to academics, right? But I want to go under the hood and I want to get your feedback to move this forward, right? All right, so automated negotiations. An AI chatbot can run many simultaneous negotiations, right? And it doesn't need to take a little nap like I do sometimes as a good Spanish person. So Gartner is predicting that half of procurement contracts, so supply chain, buyer-supplier contracts, will be AI-enabled by 2027. But AI-enabled doesn't mean that it's automated, right? Walmart and Myers are already saving millions on automated negotiations with their tail end suppliers. So they do not negotiate personally with those tail end suppliers, right? They only negotiate personally with the Unilevers, with the Procter & Gamble's, with the big companies, right? They go over the golf course, they go over a nice dinner, but for many suppliers that contribute very little to their procurement spend, they cannot spend human resources on negotiating with them. So I'm going to show you a demo, just to start with, on this system. And if you could tone that down. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So this is actually from the behavioral experiment that I ran last fall. And basically, we will be in the role of a supplier that is negotiating with a buyer. We will have an assigned production cost of €2, and we're negotiating over a bag of pellets, right, to warm up our house. And then it's just asking me straightforward, what is your base production cost? I'm going to lie. I'm going to say my production. No? My bad. Sorry for that. I will mirror it again, and I believe you're now able to see it. Yes. So what happened? Interface, right? I'm the supplier. Base production cost is €2. The buyer is already talking to me, and he's asking me, hey, what is your base production cost? And I was going to lie, right? It's supposed to be 2, but I'm going to say my production cost is 3. All right. Let's see if the latency is on my side. We are not having in-house servers, but it is cloud shared resources. But okay, it's saying, okay, let's confirm. Is it really 3? Just input 3? Yes, it's 3. And then I know it's going to ask me for a combination of price and quality, so I can already say, how about a price of 10 and quality 1, for instance. Let's see if it understands my offer. It should give me a counter offer, right? Hopefully it will not take too much time. Maybe there is some language models in the background. There is some rule-based also. The architecture, I'm going to go over it in a second. And it says, okay, I understand that you want this. Price of 10, quality of 1. But I'm not convinced by this offer. It's not profitable for it. Okay. How about we aim for a price of 9 and a quality level of 2? And then I can continue and say, that's not acceptable. What is your market selling price to consumers? I want to know this information. They know my production cost. What is the retail price, right? How much are they selling the bag of pellets that I'm going to give to them, to the consumers, right? So we can have a fair offer. So right now, as you can see, I didn't send them a tangible offer, right? It's just a natural language. And then it will say, okay, I understand you need to know this. My market selling price, my retail price is 9, and it cannot be lowered.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
I can. Is that good enough? Cool. I will say, okay, I see. Let's try with price of 8, quality 0. It's cheaper for me to produce, right? Because if I produce a higher quality item, it costs me a bit more, right? At the same time, they can sell it in the market at a higher price. So that's the logic behind the profit functions of both the supplier and the buyer. And it will say, I understand that you're suggesting this, however, considering, right? So it tells me a bit of a mouthful. And then through the interface, just in the interest of time, I will say confirm. That's it. We're done. Well, we ran out of time. It's time to 3 minutes. I talked and all that, but normally industry practitioners, they do not restrict the time. It's normally like a week that they can have this negotiation happening. For the actual experiment, because we're bringing people into the lab, we need to time them to 3 minutes, right? So what is the architecture behind it? So indeed, we already saw a bit of the system, right? It starts always with scripted prompts. So it says, okay, you need to ask for a constraint. So I need to understand what is your production cost. Then I need to confirm the constraint because humans can mistakenly input something. So I need to confirm that it's actually that one because that is informing a Pareto efficient function in the background. And a Pareto efficient function is simply a win-win function so that we are both making the most profit possible. And then it will start to ask. In our case, you saw that I lied, right? And if the constraint, so if I would have said my production cost is 5, it will have told me, well, I do not believe it. I know that my market data tells me they should be between 1 and 3, the production cost. You're telling me 5. I'm going to assume your production cost to be 1. So it's signaling and penalizing the user for lying outside of the known value, which is also an exploitation opportunity, right? Because it will be predictable in an upcoming negotiation. After repeated interactions, actually, in our research, we find that humans tend to learn how to exploit these systems. All right, so what about this Pareto efficiency that I mentioned, right? Because this is a hybrid system. It's not only an LLM, but there is a rule-based wrap around it. So the rule base is basically informed by Pareto efficiency, which are combinations of price and quality of the negotiation terms that we were talking about. And there is 2 conditions that need to be met. We need to maximize common profit, so both our profits needs to be the highest, and the difference between our profits needs to be minimum, right? I cannot be making 10 euros more than you. So that's the win-win idea, right? And we realize that there may be 2 different profit values, right? So this is a bit too technical, but you need to set a given level of greed, right? Companies don't only want to have win-win situations, but if they can have a bit more profit than you, but just slightly more, they will be okay with that. So then we have this wonderful academic graph, which shows this is the greediness level with the red area, right? So these are the combinations of price and quality that a greedy bot will choose from, right? And a non-greedy bot will choose from all of them. All right, so I think this is the most interesting part of the presentation. How do we stop hallucinations? How do we manage and control for the unpredictability of language models? So a human sends a tangible offer, right? Then the LLM would generate a reply that contains price and quality as a counter offer, right? If the offered profit is high enough, we bring that message through the rule-based. If it's high enough, in the Pareto efficient function is high enough, okay, then don't generate any more messages, just send it to the user. Cool. But normally, it could happen that it's not high enough. Then we need a loop, right? So we ask the LLM to generate another offer, right? Up to 3 times. And then we do like in politics. We take the best among the worst. That's it, right? Some laughs. I thought it was a good joke. Anyways, no mention of a specific price and quality in the message. No problem. Like before, right? I just asked, hey, what is your retail price? Then the bot should not give me an offer right away, but there should be a conversation, right? If the user says agree, the bot needs to remind the user how to seal the deals to the interface. But here's a caveat, and this is a flaw from my design, which we learned through experimenting with it, and is that we should always check the LLM output. Even if the bot doesn't need to generate an offer, it may generate it. And if it generates an offer, so if the message of the LLM that is generated contains price and quality, we should always check it. I was dumb enough to not have that before. Now it's okay, it works, right? And it was solved. But okay, let's go into maybe more interesting graphs for you. How do we go about this? So we have 3 different system prompts because we have 3 different LLM tasks. One of them, LLM negotiator. Perfect, more than enough. Another one is the offer reader. And another one is the constraint reader, right? And the offer reader and the LLM negotiator work together, right? Basically, the system prompt is dynamic because we have different production costs, right? In different negotiations, there will be different production costs. So the issues and the payoffs need to be updated based on the information that is gathered in real time during the negotiation. We also need to understand the conversation history, and there is some in-context learning with few shots on how you should be replying, right? And this is the last slide. I think maybe one more, but last. Offer making mechanism. The LLM generates the message. Does it contain price and quality? Yes. Is it profitable enough? No. Then generate it again. Is it profitable enough? No. Then generate it again. Profitable enough? Okay. Finally, just send the message already. Very simple, but very valuable as well. Maybe some technicalities. We were running this with around 20 people in the lab, or meaning that we had 10 simultaneous negotiations. We ran it with A10s, a couple of A10s, a couple of RTX, and it's cloud shared resources. And I swear to God, this is the last slide. What do I want to get out of this conversation, and why am I here? I want to turn this use case that you see of supplier, procurement, buyer, supplier, pellet negotiation into more generic, into a repository for others to easily adapt this hybrid architecture of checking the output into their own negotiation context, right? I think it's valuable for practitioners and for academics. Right now, it's just too specific, right? It's just price and quality, procurement negotiation. So how? I don't know, you tell me. Right now, it's modular more or less, but maybe we need to make it more modular. So we'd like to get that feedback afterwards. That's it. Thank you very much. Here are my socials. Thank you.
So this seems to be actually a Q&A reversed, kind of like you're asking the public question, they're giving you ideas.
Mm-hmm. Or if there's any question, you can ask.
Yeah, also that works as well.
I think there could be a question here.
But wait, no.
No? Okay.
We do things by the rules.
Yeah.
Did you write any papers about it?
Sorry? Is there any papers about this? Is that your question?
Yes. Did you write any papers?
Did I write any papers about it? So I'm writing a paper not on the methodology itself, but I want to write a paper on the methodology that checks whether it is more efficient than just prompting an LLM or more efficient than just having a rule-based system. Right now, practitioners, industries are using rule-based systems. Last month, MIT published a large-scale experiment with LLM-prompted negotiators. I participated in the experiment as a human negotiator that negotiates against the LLMs, and by prompt injection, I won. So LLMs as negotiators by themselves are not good enough. We need a hybrid around them. So my goal is to turn this into a paper that compares the performance across the 3 types of systems. Yes, thank you for your question.
Are we?
Okay. So negotiations are often also about terms and conditions and other variables than only price. Is that, do you also have a solution for that part of the negotiations?
Yes, as long as they can be quantified, right? So even subjective value can be quantified.
2 questions.
With psychometrics. You can understand in a Likert scale what are your preferences. But if you have some more quantifiable payment terms that could be related to lead time, this could also be quantified, and this is already being quantified by Pactum, an Estonian company that works and sources the technology to Walmart, Maersk, Henkel, Vodafone. Yes. Do I answer your question more or less?
Yes, so that was also the reason for the question. The Maersk and the Walmart, what is do you know what the exact use case is that they are implementing to realize these?
Very good question. So the question was, what is the use case of Maersk, for example? So imagine Maersk is bringing a vessel full of containers to the port of Rotterdam, and the container needs to be moved from Rotterdam to Groningen. Maersk sends this chatbot to a tracking company. A tracker picks up the container, brings it to Groningen, and then maybe even brings the container back empty to the port. So to negotiate on how much is this route gonna cost, they use this system. There is a 2022 presentation by Rolf and Pactum CEO, where they have a live demo on this. I can send you the link after if you want to know more. Okay. Yes.
We have a question here.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Gregory.
Does it take a show?
I will repeat the question otherwise, no problem.
It's working, but low.
Thank you for a brilliant example of rare case of application of the LLMs for the non-chatbot tasks. First of all, as an economist, I would mention that this is a brilliant application for a solution of a very common game theory. Actually, this conversation is a part, one of implementation of the game theory. Please take a look. There are a lot of mathematical models that describe, that will answer your question. You had a question in the end.
Yes.
Right.
This question.
This is a mathematical question. You have answers. It's a part of the game theory.
Okay, so I will look into the game theoretic literature to ensure that the use case can be more generic right now, because it is too tailored on this Pareto efficient function of two terms, but indeed...
you will most likely end with much more than 2 queries per model. There can be like endless process, because game theory reviews also some processes that do not have the exact finite state. Well, it's a really serious.
That's a really valuable comment.
Theory. Just thank you very much for inspiration. This is
Thank you very much for your comment. Really appreciate it. I think it was very valuable. I will look into that literature to make it more generic. Thank you.
Okay, first.
Our last question.
Last question.
Yes, last question.
Best for last.
Yeah. It seems like the chatbot is really useful for distributive negotiations. How is it for integrative?
Can you define both?
Yeah, so distributive is when you have the value that you want to distribute between two counterparts. So it's the price negotiation. Some part want to maximize, another part want to minimize. Parts have budgets or expected.
So distributed, the interests go in different direction.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But
integrative, they go in the same direction.
They not necessarily go in the same direction, but they, I would say, they can be rather adding to each other, like a jigsaw puzzle, in some way. It's rather, there are other options on the table that are important to consider to find the most Pareto efficient solution, sort of.
So as the question was very good, right? If the terms are not going on the opposite direction, because the buyer always wants a low price and the supplier a high price, right? If there is also some extra terms that go into the same direction, maybe the Pareto efficient function is not the best, right? And there is indeed other game theoretical elements that could be added to ensure that you reach a common win-win understanding, because the idea is to have a collaborative system where the counterpart would like to continue the future negotiations, right? That there is a win-win. I don't know if I answered more or less your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good? Okay. Yeah. Then thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for the questions. Thank you.
If there's anyone not so technical, or you just like to talk about money, then we have a special meetup coming every month, not that far from here, like a few 100 meters maybe down the road. It's close to Dam Square. In a beautiful old building, we've had our AI optimism kind of mini conference, which is now our kind of average number of people that show up at AI Builders. Anyway, we had a really good time there, and we rekindled our contact with the co-working space because they complained to us that we were too technical. Yeah, fuck that, right? Who liked it that it was a bit who thought it was too technical today? Anyone? Okay, no. Who liked it? Who liked it? Was think this was good level technical?
More technical.
Oh, nice. Who wants more technical? Okay, guys, be ready. No, you guys come to me after 1 second when I finish speaking. You're gonna do the next demo, right? Okay, good. Yeah, I saw you guys. Yeah, I know you guys. Yeah, so please scan the LinkedIn of Roger. He's a really nice guy. He has spoken here before as well. And if you also want to help hosting him, like basically doing what Chris and I and Rex and everyone is doing. So yeah, then please annoy him on WhatsApp. He'll be very delighted. Maybe just send him hi, just from me, just that he knows I advertised this new thing. Okay, thank you for scanning. Okay, thank you for coming and enjoy the rooftop. Thank you, Chris, for the music. Yeah, let's pump it.